You guys, you want to know what I said to her? Yeah. I'll tell you what I said. Yeah, I'll tell you what I said to her. Yeah. I looked her right in the eyes and I was like, hey, honey, keep the change.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Joe Nunnink!
Yeah, isn't that something? Yeah. Wow. All right, thank you. I'm dumb, let's get that out of the way. I'm a dumb guy. And to make matters worse, I look dumber than I actually am, you know? Yeah, that's a nightmare. I'll do things that make me appear to be dumb, like I'll leave my mouth open after I ask a question, you know? And people do not like that when you do that, dude. Like, I was in a coffee shop recently, and I wanted to know the Wi-Fi password. And I went up to the barista, and I was like, hey, man, what's the internet? And I swear to God, he was like, all right, so, like, picture, like, a web, right? Like a worldwide. I was like, oh, this guy thinks I have brain damage. Okay. This guy thinks I have CTE. Got it. He was like, oh, I'm so sorry. You want to know the Wi-Fi password. Dude, you had your mouth open. So I thought that you were a St. Bernard trapped in a man's body. So, yeah. I'm dumb, man. Yeah, I'm from the Midwest, you know. I'm from Kansas. And, yeah, all right. It's good. Kansas is not on the cultural cusp of anything, right? So when people come up with new words for things in Brooklyn, you know, Kansas is like the last to know, you know? Like when I moved here 4 years ago, I had never heard the acronym P.O.C. before, person of color. Yeah, and I was talking to a girl about movies, and I thought we were talking about Pirates of Caribbean, right? Yeah. She was like, there needs to be more P.O.C. representation in film, and I was like, I couldn't agree more, right? It's like, yeah, there's only like 5 movies that do that. And everybody says they suck, but that's not fair, right? No? She was like, yeah, and they always get snubbed at the Oscars. And I was like, good point. I mean, yeah. I didn't even know that was a position you could have on Pirates of the Caribbean. And she was like, yeah, and they keep casting non-POC actors to play POC roles. I was getting fired up. I was like, thank you. They got to get Orlando Bloom back in those things, right? They got to get Johnny D. I don't care what he did, right? Put him back. Put him back in. She was like, well, they're white. And I was like, right. I was like, wait a minute, what are we talking about? I was like, is this lady racist? Yeah, that's how off base I was, yeah. Yeah, dude, it's stupid. Yeah. Somebody also told me recently that I have the build of a utility equipment rental supervisor. And vibe. At a Hertz. Yeah. Like the guy who sells you like a kayak mount for your RAV4, you know? Yeah, that sucks, dude. In Hertz specific, not even Enterprise. You know what I mean? Like Hertz, right? That's painful, dude. And I drink, and I've never been to therapy before. And as you might have surmised. And that is increasingly a bad look for a younger person, you know? That looked way better on my grandpa's generation. When you had like a Dust Bowl in a World War behind you to just sip scotch and never talk about your problems. Like, that looks way worse on my generation. Like, what are my grandkids gonna say? You know what I mean? It's like, well, Grandpap never did talk about the Doge crash much. He just sipped his mango kiwi White Claw and hit his lemon lime elf bar. A stoic man from another time, you know? That sucks, dude. That's not good. I'm worried that I'm gonna look like a bigot when I'm an old guy, you know? And just the way that technology is getting more integrated into all of our lives, you know? Because old people now can barely keep up with the gender stuff. Old people now are like, I remember when boys were boys and girls were girls. But when I'm an old guy, I'm gonna be like, I remember when everyone was people. And my cyborg grandson is gonna be like, sorry about my ignorant millennial grandpa. Yeah. I'll be like, but I know the genders. And it's not gonna fucking matter, you know? This is gonna be like, shut up, Grandpa. There are only 2 genders now, 0 and 1. You know? Like, oh shit! You know? I don't know. The world's gonna be scary, but what do I know, man? I'm just a simple Midwesterner. I was raised Catholic. Yeah, raised Catholic by a God-fearing and child-support-skirting man. And yeah, I was raised Catholic. I don't believe in any of the religion at this point, but I do find myself relating to some of the Bible stories more as I get older. Like Jesus' first miracle was turning water into wine at a wedding reception that ran out of alcohol when he was 30 years old. And I feel like if I had supernatural powers, I would also not use them for my entire life until I got blackout at a wedding. And then I'd just be like, I think I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like, this is gonna be, I'm gonna do it. You know? Dude, he went into that wedding so in the pocket. By the end of the night, he was on the karaoke mic like, I believe in miracles. Just like fucking, just came along. Dude, imagine the hangover after that, too. I mean, we've all made, like, drunken mistakes and had regrets. Imagine waking up after a long night of drinking and being like, did I do anything crazy last night? And then 12 of your best guy friends are like, we will follow you anywhere. For you are no ordinary man, my friend. You know? And that's what happened. He just had a frat of 12 guys after that, dude. He frat snapped water into wine and created the first fraternity, I think. It was like Alpha Omega, you know, or whatever. They were holding out solo cups like, let me get a top off, do the thing, do the party trick, dude. By the way, no woman found that miracle impressive. They were like, what is that? I'm not drinking that. Yeah. I'm not gonna get date raped in Cana, you know? I don't know what your boy is cooking up back there, but except for Mary Magdalene, she was like, I'll fucking drink it, you know? So she was like the fun slut of the fraternity, right? Yeah, she was one of the boys instead. I'll just finish the New Testament since I've gone this far. Because, yeah, after that, Jesus had to grow up. He had to start doing, like, adult miracles, right? There was, like, hungry people. He had to feed them. There was a blind guy to give him fucking eyes or whatever. And the whole frat was like, what is this bullshit, dude? Like, this is not what we signed up for, you know? What happened to fuckboy Jesus? You know, what is this? Peter was like, I don't even know this guy anymore. And Judas sold him out for, like, an eighth of weed, you know? He was like, I should have got more, or whatever he said. And then they crucified him. And the whole frat was like, bummer, man. Yeah. And then he came back 3 days later, and they were like, sick. Yeah, that's what's up, dude. Tight. And then he was like, but I gotta go again. I gotta go back. And they were like, bummer, dude. Fuck, you just got back. He's like, don't worry, I'm coming back again. They were like, sick. No, yeah, dude. Yes. Classic. And then he never came back, and they were like, bummer, right? And then they started getting crucified themselves, and they were like, big bummer. This is the biggest bummer yet, maybe. But then Peter got crucified upside down. He was like, kind of sick, right? Pretty metal. Kind of tight. I don't know. Now I paraphrased a lot of the New Testament there. It's what I remember from my Catholic education, man, yeah. But I relate to that, man. I would do a booze-related miracle myself, I think, yeah. I work in beverage alcohol, and it sounds sexier than it is. It's a very sanitized corporate job. And we've been working from home for the last couple of years, but now they want us to go back into the office. But they know we don't want to go back. So they're trying to get us motivated to want to go back, you know? And the stuff they're coming up with is crazy. My boss actually said this. She was like, good news, guys. I just got the green light. We can decorate the office. However we want. And I said this to her as a joke, and I didn't realize how crazy it would make me sound. But I was like, listen, Tracy, if I ever decorate this place, it is going to be with my own brain matter all over the wall. And she did not laugh, right? But the good news is, ever since I said that, we've been back to working from home, right? So, yeah, you guys can use that. Yeah, use that at your jobs. We use Slack in Do you guys know what Slack is? It's like a messaging app companies use? Yeah. I work with these white ladies, and I only specify that they're white because they've all done this thing where they've pre-selected the black thumbs up emoji on Slack, which is a wild form of solidarity, right? Because I think their heart is in the right place, but it's like a crazy place to land as an ally, you know? Digital blackface. It's just, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make a difference here. Because there is one black lady on our team. So somebody will be like bagels in the break room, and there'll be like 4 black thumbs up. which feels like 3 too many, you know? I do think the only thing worse than pre-selecting a black thumbs up emoji as a white person is pre-selecting a white thumbs up emoji, right? That's just loud, dude, you know? You know what I mean? That's loud. To go in and change it from the generic yellow to be like, I'm white! That's crazy, you can't do that. Whoa. Yeah, you cannot do that, man. It's like, I didn't know Jerry in accounting was a Nazi. Oh my God. Yeah. I used to have a more interesting job. Yeah, that's true. I used to have a much cooler job. I won a contest when I was 23 to become a Lego model designer. This is true, yeah. I won a contest at Legoland Discovery Center in Kansas City to become the Lego master builder when I was 23. And I signed up for the contest as a way to come up with material. And I was like, I got it. I'll go do this dorky contest that these guys are doing with these Legos, and I'll come up with jokes. And then 4 hours into it, I was like, I think I can win this thing. And it turns out that I was the biggest loser in the entire place, you know? Yeah, dude, the joke was on me, right? You know what I mean? Like, I walked out employed. That sucks, right? It was amazing. It was the coolest job I'll ever have. I got to build these cool Lego statues. The pay was dog shit. The pay was really bad. But I was 23, so I didn't know that, you know? Like, in the interview, they were like, all right, the salary is $35,000 a year. And I was like, wait a minute. Are you telling me I just won the jackpot? He's like, is that what you're telling me right now? Dude, that is way more than I require, you know? And I worked behind this big glass window, and I worked in this little room. I built things all day, and hundreds of people would walk by the window and watch me do my job. They'd watch me build. That is a crazy way to do your job. Hundreds of people watching through a window. I only know one individual who has even a similar work environment. It's this dude, Coco. He's a chimp at the Kansas City Zoo. I went to the Kansas City Zoo, and they were like, this is Coco. He plays with his toys all day while everybody watches through this window. And I was like, mm-hmm. I was leaning to the guy next to me. I was like, it's actually not as easy as it was. So there's actually a lot that goes into that, dude. Yeah. He's like, really? Because he's flinging his shit against the wall right now. I was like, all right, well, you know. Quick side note on the Kansas City Zoo. You know they say elephants are aware that they're in captivity because they're so smart? I locked eyes with an elephant at the Kansas City Zoo, and not only could I tell that it knew it was in captivity, it felt like it knew it was in Kansas City. You know what I mean? There's just something in its eye. It's the saddest animal I've ever seen on the planet. Anyway, back to the Lego job. Nobody took the job seriously, you know? Like, I would talk to moms of kids who would come up to me, and they'd be like, I am such a big fan of your work. I love your work. My son is also a Lego master. And I would be like, thank you so much, and I'm sure he's so talented, but he's not, like, technically a Lego master. She'd be like, no, he's just like you. And I was like, he's not just like me, right? She'd be like, no, he's crazy about Legos. I was like, how crazy is he, all right? Because I got a tattoo on my arm, lady, all right? I got things. Don't clap. This is the lamest tattoo that anyone has on the planet. I have a Lego brick on my arm. So. I did have like a small meltdown with a mom though. She was like, well, my son is just like you. And I was like, I have a salary and he is a child. She was like, oh, what's the big salary? And I was like, all right, well, it's more of an allowance, but yeah, it's technically an allowance. Yeah, kids would say crazy things at Legoland too. I had a kid in a very public Q&A setting ask me if I had ever built 9/11 before. Not like the Twin Towers, you know what I mean? Like a more specific moment. And I hadn't. Could you imagine if I had, right? Just people walking by the window like, whoa. All right. Crazy day at Legoland today. But to be fair to the kid, if you walk into any Legoland, it kind of does look like an Al-Qaeda pitch room, you know? Like just all the Lego models in, if you go into any Legoland, it's like Empire State Building, White House, Hogwarts, you know? Like if Bin Laden went into Legoland, he'd be like, pretty good. These are pretty good ideas. Yeah. We should hit one of these, right? We should, Hogwarts, we should hit that. Should fly a car into that. Yeah. Right in there. Speaking of Bin Laden, I did fly recently. How about that? Yeah. I flew. And yeah, I went to Europe with some friends last year, and I was watching a movie on the flight. Have you ever been watching a movie on a long flight, and then there's like a softcore sex scene in the movie? I had never felt like a bigger pervert in my life. I was leaning into the guy next to me. I was like, this is like a normal movie, by the way. I was like, I don't even like sex. I'm just a big costume design guy. I'm just waiting to see who did that. Credits, yeah. But the scene just like kept going on, you know? I leaned back over to him at one point. By the way, he hadn't said anything to me. I was like, this is what people do, you know? I was like, they have sex, so grow up. I was like, we're all adults here. Except for the 8-year-old to my right. How you doing? Yeah. I don't know. I just put my headphones in and went back to masturbating, but it was really cool. You guys have got to go to Europe if you can. Yeah. You got to go, yeah. I went to this town in Poland with some friends, and we stayed in the town. Auschwitz is right outside of the town. And we did everything. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't know until I got there. I didn't know either. I got there and I found out. I was like, is it really? Okay, cool. Okay. I was like, so are we going there? Like, and people were like, you have to go if you're here. And I was like, shit, dude, I did not like plan for that, you know? Just like psychologically. And so we didn't go over the course of like 3 days. We had 1 day left. And we're at dinner the night before the last day, and we're like, okay, well, tomorrow, I guess we'll go to Auschwitz. And, because you should go if you're here. And then we got a text from a guy we met the first night in Poland, and he said, hey, do you guys want to go go-karting tomorrow? And then we had like a crazy decision to make, which is, do we go to Auschwitz or do we go go-karting? We're at the dinner, and I said, is there a world in which we do both? Just throwing it out there, you know? And my friend said this, and he wasn't trying to be like funny or ironic. He goes, wow, that sounds like the perfect day. I was like, I don't know about the perfect day. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's what it is. And then the debate became, which do we do first? Auschwitz or go-karting, you know? Because I feel like if we go go-karting first, there's a chance we like yawn through Auschwitz. That's not good. No, the logical choice is to go to Auschwitz in the morning and have go-karting as like a pick-me-up in the afternoon, you know? But the problem with that is I feel like everything at go-karting would remind me of Auschwitz, you know? You'd be like, all right, guys, jewelry right over here, and whenever you're ready, hit the gas. All right. Oh, boy. Be like, no, I can't go go-karting. Yeah, I don't know. The next day we overslept, and it was like noon. We're like, okay, we only have time for one. I'm not going to say which one we went to, but let me just say this. It is still operating in its original intention. And we went to the go-kart place, and but they were like closed. He was like, we just closed, but we have tickets to the Auschwitz Museum. We're like, just keep on. We're just gonna get out of here, dude. Yeah. And listen, I know I look like a guy who works at Auschwitz, but like, I am glad that it's closed, right? In its original intentions. Okay. Sometimes I do that bit and they're like, where does this guy stand on this? Another place I'm glad that is also closed are those quasi-legal weed shops that were around New York for the last couple of years. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? If you're not from here, they legalized weed a couple of years ago, but they didn't roll out the licensing till recently. So for 2 years, there was like these weed stores that were unlicensed, and they were operated by the same people who sold me weed in high school. And they were high during the job. And it was completely disorganized. Like, I went into one of those places, and I went up to the counter, and there were weed crumbs all over the counter. And I didn't care about that, but the lady behind the counter looked at the weed crumbs and looked back at me, and she was like, oh, hold on, let me blow the weed crumbs onto the ground. So scoot over, and I'll blow the weed crumbs on the ground. And I was like, that's definitely not how you clean that, right? But, so I'm like, whatever. So I move over to the left, and then she goes, and none of the weed crumbs move anywhere. And then there's another guy behind the counter laughing at her who's like, oh, you can't blow the weed crumbs on the ground. And she was like, shut up, it's because I'm sick. Dude, what the fuck just happened? I walked into a place 15 seconds in. I gotta move over because I'm in the way of a health and safety violation that you can't perform because of a different health and safety violation. You know how crazy that is? That's like when you go into the bodega and you're like, why are there cats here? And they're like, because of the rats. And you're like, all right, got it. It's a double violation. Even if they would just like held themselves to the same standard as a bodega, I feel like that would be a good start, you know? I don't go to the deli to get a chopped cheese and the guy's like, move over, I gotta blow the ground beef on the ground. I can't, I have COVID. What do you want? She asked me what I wanted. I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm good on weed forever. Yeah. I don't know. It's a huge wake-up call. Yeah, man. I don't know. I can't smoke weed anymore. I get paranoid when I get high. You know. I think it's like companies like terrify me because it used to be just like Google and Apple would know where we're at all the time. But at this point, the amount of shit that I have signed off on, if I had to guess what companies like know where I am tonight, it would be like Miller Lite. You know what I mean? Like Colgate toothpaste, Domino's pizza. Like, I would be shocked if Honey Nut Cheerios doesn't know what makes me come. You know what I mean? They have all my effort. They're probably over there like, all right, let's make the Bia Latina. Let's throw some double D's on her. We'll throw that on a box. Throw that in the grocery store. 46 in Skillman. That'll get them. That'll make them Honey Nut. Yeah. I'm walking in there the next day like, whoa. Come to think of it, my cholesterol has been a little high lately. To grab that, dude. Stupid, man. Yeah, my phone also freaks me out when I'm high. It freaks me out in general. Like, I got a notification from the Solitaire game app on my phone, and I just didn't expect to be hearing from that game. You know what I mean? Like, I get it when you download an app, but this game, like, pre-installed on my phone. I played it one time, and for 3 weeks, they sent me notifications. They were like, time for a quick game? And there's something existentially lonely about hearing from the game Solitaire. You know what I mean? It was like, haven't played in a while. What are you out there, getting laid? You'll be back. They all come back to Solitaire. It's also weird to get notifications from an app that I didn't choose to install. You know what I mean? It just feels, that'd be like if you use the calculator function on your phone and the next day they sent you a notification. It was like, you ever wonder what 6 times 9 is? You ever wonder that, dude? Yeah, we got all the answers, dude. Fire this bad boy up, huh? Better yet, fire it up. Type in 8008135. You know what I'm saying, dude? Yeah. We're not the Tinder app. We still got some titties. It's a pretty stupid joke. Yeah, but another drug I can't do is cocaine. Wow, can't do cocaine anymore. Yeah. Because at this point, I feel like if I did cocaine tonight, at the age that I'm at, I would mostly just like try to buy a car. You know what I mean? Like when I did cocaine in my 20s, I would be like talking to a girl at a party. I'd be like, I love your dress. It's a really cool design. I'm not hitting on you. You know, or whatever the fuck. But if I did cocaine tonight, I would be like, everyone laughs at a Nissan Rogue. Let them laugh. Just on Kelly Blue Book at the end of the bar like a maniac, you know? It would all be paperwork if I did cocaine tonight, you know? I would like incorporate myself. I'd start like an import company for something I know nothing about, you know? I'd be getting calls from a guy at 9 a.m. tomorrow like, all right, we have 3 shipping containers of soybeans coming from Central America. Where do you want them? We need an authorized dock. And I'd be like, whoa, what are we talking about? He'd be like, dude, we were just on the phone 4 hours ago. You kept saying, I'm a real businessman. Give me the beans. I'd be like, all right, hold on. Let me find the cocaine. I'll remember the plan. The other reason I can't do cocaine anymore is I'm going to be honest. I think I would just shit my pants if I did it. Yeah. Dude, my control over my bowels is getting weaker every day, dude. I'm up here with an open mouth and an open asshole, dude. I can't go to jail, you know what I mean? They'll have a field day. Yeah. Speaking of field day, I did shit my pants at field day. Yeah. Do you guys remember field day? It's the best day of the year, right? All the kids are on the track and they're playing games and everything. By 10 a.m., 6th grade, field day, I had to shit very badly. And I had two options. I could either find a teacher to escort me back to the school to go to the bathroom, but by doing that, I would run the risk of losing track of all of my friends on the field. And when you're 12, the most important thing is to like stick with your friends, because we're all wearing uniforms. It's like a sea of kids, you know? So I was like, I'll hold it in. And cut to 3 p.m., it didn't even matter that I was with my friends because I couldn't enjoy their company if I tried. Like, my fists were clenched, my ass cheeks were clenched. They'd be saying something, and I'd be like, yeah, for sure. And they line us up to go back to the school, and I'm deeply worried at this point. And the 6th graders' lockers are on the 3rd floor, okay? So we get in the building, and we get halfway up the staircase, and it all comes out. I take one step, and it all comes out. And here's the thing, it's May, so I'm wearing shorts, right? So a full turd comes out of my shorts and lands on the step. But here's the other thing, nobody saw. So I truly was just like, huh. Just kept going. And then I went to my locker like it was the end of the world. And I started getting everything out of it. This is the last day of school. People are like hugging each other goodbye, signing yearbooks. I wasn't doing any of that. There was a girl who was like, sign my yearbook. I like threw it out of the way, and I was getting everything in my backpack. And then from down in the stairwell, I hear a girl scream and a guy go, a turd. There's a turd. And I immediately book it the opposite direction, like the most guilty person in the whole place. I mean, my backpack isn't even zipped. There's papers flying out of it. There's new turds flying out of my shorts. And I get away with it. I got away with it. And thank you. Thank you. I actually think that if I didn't get away with it, my life would be different. I mostly got away with it. I got away with it at school. But I did get into my brother's car after school. He picked me up from school that day, and right away he went, oh my God, did you shit your pants? And I had the most classic 12-year-old response. I was like, no. Did you shit your pants? I was like, smells like shit in here. And he was like, it didn't smell like shit until you got in here. And I was like, well, I didn't smell the shit until I got in here. It was like this game of ping pong that turned into a game of chess because he was like, all right, well, if you didn't shit your pants, like you're telling me, I'm going to hang out with you for the rest of the afternoon. Because if you did shit your pants, there are things you need to do right now, right? Like, there's an order of operations that has to occur. You don't just get to keep hanging out. You got to peel those bad boys off. You gotta bury him in the backyard. You gotta do like a stealth shower. It's a whole operation. And I was like, all right, I can't have my brother knowing that I did this. It's like the ultimate blackmail, right? I'll be his personal slave for the rest of my life. So I just white knuckled it, and I played GameCube for 1 hour with a little bit of shit in my pants. To the point that my brother was just pacing around. He was like, dude, just change your pants. He was like, I don't even care anymore. You're ruining the whole house. And I was like, you change your pants. Because you shit your pants. And you're making me feel crazy. And he was like, this is insane. So he left, and then I stood in a pretty solemn moment of silence. And I went downstairs, and I went to the bathroom, and I don't know how often you guys shit your pants, but when you do the thing, when you take off your pants that you shit, and you have to fold it into kind of a compact piece of origami, like a sad origami thing that you're gonna smuggle out of there. So I was doing that, and then I hear somebody banging on the door, and I was like, oh great, it's my brother, right? I'm gonna get busted. And he's banging on the door. I have no choice but to open the door. Open the door, and it's my dad. And he's like, get out of the way, I shit my pants. So I was like, all right, cool. He in the family, you know? Yeah. It's cool. Thank you guys for being here, by the way. This is cool. Yeah. This is exciting to do, man. Exciting to do. First time I've ever done anything like this. It's cool to try new things, you know? Yeah. It's cool. Just wanted to try something new. So it was like, what if we film it? What if I get my peers and friends and people who respect me and put them in there? See what happens. Let's take a huge risk. And that's what we're doing tonight, yeah. Trying to do some new things, you know, as I get older. Like I tried something new recently. I tried bondage. Have you guys tried that? Yeah. That's fucking cool, dude. Yeah, my man, dude. Yeah. Yeah, bondage. I liked it a lot. I liked it maybe too much. Like, it's weird when you tie someone up and then come immediately. Because then you just have to untie them, right? Then you just have to be like, good news, you are free to go. It was all a misunderstanding, yeah. She's like, but my parole's not up for 20 minutes. I'm like, get out of my jail, please. Get out, please square yourself out. It's actually not the whole story. I actually went out with this girl like a week earlier. She asked if I would tie her up, you know? And I was excited to try. I've never done that, bondage. But nothing takes the sex out of the air faster than realizing that I am incapable of tying someone up. Yeah. She Houdini'd her way out of that immediately, you know? And then I was just firing up a YouTube video of how to tie a knot with a naked woman in my bed. I was just firing up a guy's YouTube channel like, welcome back to Practical Knots with Paul. If you guys saw last week's video on the double Langston, you know, but I'm tugging my shit to stay hard, right? So now I'm just jacking off to a guy's YouTube channel. I'm jacking off to a guy's YouTube channel, but I'm scrubbing ahead to get to the part where he ties the knot, you know? But I'm hitting, like, paid ads, you know? It's like, Target, back to school at Target. There's, like, kids running everywhere. I was like, no! Yeah, through the phone. And we rescheduled, yeah. I was like, what about a rain shack? Yeah. And then I went over the next week and came immediately. So that's... I had another first happen to me recently. Tell me if this ever happened to you guys. Has anybody ever whispered an entire story to you? I didn't know you could even do that. It blew my mind and pissed me off at the same time. I was at a comedy show, and sometimes we get paid in drink tickets. And I was talking to the producer of the show. It was during the show, so he's whispering. He was like, hey, here's a drink ticket. Sorry, there's only one. And I said, no worries. I'll make photocopies. Throwaway joke. I thought that was the end of the interaction. And then he goes, one time in the 5th grade. I had turned around. You understand? Like I was like, what are we doing here? You know? And he goes, one time in the 5th grade, a carnival came to town. I swear to God, all of this is true. A carnival came to town, and you could win tickets with goldfish printed on them and exchange those for real goldfish. And I only had one. But I photocopied like 30. And then I got 30 goldfish. And I took them home. And then my mom found out and got so pissed. And then she made me take them back to the carnival. I was like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? I was like, dude, you can't just whisper a whole story to somebody. It's crazy. With a carnival and goldfish? What is the story? It's way too long of a story to whisper to somebody. That would be like if I was like, oh, cool, one time in the 6th grade, it was field day. And by 10 a.m. that morning, I had to shit. It's crazy, dude. You can't do that, man. Yeah, things are going good, though. You didn't ask, but... yeah, I got a girlfriend. That's cool. Yeah. Thank you. It's hard to get one. I applied for months, and it finally... It's harder now than it ever was. I think I asked my grandpa how he met my grandma, and he was like, well, I just got back from World War II, and I went to the first bar that I saw. I was like, wow, it was already romantic, you know? And he was like, I saw your grandma standing there, and I just knew I'm not leaving this bar without that woman. And I said, did grandma want to leave the bar with you? And he was like, those were the days. And I was like, what? Dude. I don't think she had any say at all, dude. I think she just got pointed at in a bar in the 40s. Yeah. And then you're married for 60 years. That's how it worked back then. Have you ever noticed that your grandpa loves your grandma way more than your grandma loves your grandpa? Like, across the board, right? There is a reason for that. Grandpa married the love of his life. Grandma did not. No. She got pointed at in a bar in 1946. Game over, dude. Game over for Grandma. Yeah, my parents got divorced when I was 2, and they split up. We would go back and forth to each other's house, and they had very different parenting styles. Like, my mom made more money than my dad, so she had, like, AC and video games. And my dad had the great outdoors. Yeah. He had, like, we would go over to my dad's house. He had land, and he gave us BB guns. He armed us, and he set us out, you know? And one night, my brothers and I snuck out with our BB guns, and we went to this construction site next to our house, and we accidentally shot out a $10,000 generator. Yeah. And when I say we accidentally shot it out, I mean we intentionally shot bullets at it until all the power went out. We were like, hell yeah, we did it. And then we went back, and then we got in like a ton of trouble, right? To the point that the project manager of the construction site came to talk to my dad about what had happened. But before he got there, my dad sat us down, and he was like, you kids are gonna go in the basement, and you're not gonna say a word while I talk to this guy. We're like terrified, you know? So we go in the basement, but we're eavesdropping. And the guy comes in, the project manager, and we hear him say it to our dad. He says, hey, did your boys shoot out our generator? And my dad said, I don't have kids. What do you think? And I was like, oh, that's why we're down here, you know? We don't exist, you know? And the guy called his bluff immediately. He was like, well, if you don't have kids, why is there a tree house outside? And my dad said this, and I'll never forget this. He goes, can a man have a tree house? Which was the funniest thing I had ever heard anyone say at that point. So we all burst out laughing. And the guy was like, well, if there's no kids, why do I hear kids laughing in the basement right now? And my dad was like, oh, those kids, those aren't mine. Yeah. Which is not what you want to say. Somebody's asking about it. It's cool. He went to jail for a long time, but yeah. No, my dad's a funny guy. A couple years ago, he took us on this trip. Or no, what did he do? I'm sorry, I'm fucking this up. He died. Yeah. And he did die. And yeah, I always forget that part. And my brother and I were in the room when he died. And you guys let me know when you're having fun on this one. And we were pretty sure we knew when it happened, but we didn't know for sure. So we asked the nurse to come in and take a look. And he was hooked up on a breathing machine. He had lung disease. And so she checked his breathing, and she said, no, yeah, he's still alive. And we were like, are you sure it's not the breathing machine? Like pumping breaths? And she goes, huh. And then she went back over and checked his pulse, and she goes, no, he's like for sure dead. She goes, that was my bad. Yeah. You know those days when you miss lunch, you know? And everything is just like, she's like, I'm gonna give you guys some time to say goodbye. So you've had enough of me here. And she left, and we got to say goodbye, and that was a nice moment to have. But after that moment passes, you're kind of like, I wonder when the nurse is gonna come back in here. Because after a while, you're just in the room with a dead body, you know? But we were such Midwesterners that we didn't realize it was up to us to be like, we're good on dad, you know? We were just like, I think the nurse needs more time, you know? She missed lunch, you know? My dad's name was Jerome, and I think the most interesting thing about him is that he was not black. And that is crazy. The only white guy named Jerome I ever knew. And he passed away in January of 2020, and about a month later, Kobe Bryant died. And I was like, man, two of the most important black men in my life. They're dropping like flies. And I ordered a pizza the night that Kobe Bryant died. And by the way, not because Kobe Bryant died, right? I wasn't like, oh, Mamba, I'm calling Papa. That's not what happened. I happened to order a pizza the night that Kobe Bryant died, and the guy who came to deliver it to me was like visibly shaken by the fact that Kobe Bryant had died. And he had this like 1,000-mile stare in his eyes and this weird nasally voice. I opened the door, and he's holding the box, and he goes, man, it's just crazy, you know? It's just crazy to think that someone could just be there and then be gone. And I was like, did something happen with the pizza? And he was like, nah, man, number 8. And I was like, oh, yeah, Kobe, man. Yeah, he's pretty good at basketball. And he goes, pretty good? Try the greatest of all time. And my hand was on the box at this point. I was like, what are we doing here? You know? And he was like, well, listen, I know today's been rough for everybody, so I threw in a little extra Parmesan cheese there for you. Swear to God he said that. I was like, oh, extra parm? It's like he never died. You know, I just had this weird interaction with this pizza delivery guy. Flash forward a month later, it's March of 2020, and the whole world is shutting down because of the pandemic. I had ordered another pizza from the same place, Godfather's Pizza. They were hitting me with the promo codes. And the same guy came back to deliver me a pizza, visibly shaken by the fact that the world was closing down. He was like, it's just crazy to think. And I was like, I don't like what we have. I was like, I don't like that every time there's a national tragedy, I have to unpack that with you, you know? And he was like, well, I threw in a little extra crushed red pepper. I was like, get the fuck out of here. So I waited until it was a quiet news day before I felt safe to order a third Godfather's Pizza. I waited for a quiet news day. I was like, I can't handle this depressed man. And I order a third Godfather's Pizza. And in the hour that it took to get delivered, I looked at my phone and I saw that Herman Cain had died. Not really a national tragedy. I don't know if you remember Herman Cain. He ran for president in 2012. He didn't win. He was also the founder and CEO of Godfather's Pizza. And I was like, no! This guy's gonna be crushed, right? Oh, I can't believe it. And the car rolls up, but then get this, out steps a different guy, not my guy, some other delivery guy. He comes up to me, hands me the pizza, and he's like, here's your pizza, man, have a nice day. And something inside of me, like, changed in that moment. I don't know how to explain it. I was like, have a nice day? I was like, dude, Herman Cain is dead. I was like, what happened to the other guy, man? I like a guy who cares about the issues when he delivers me a pizza, right? And he was like, I do know who you're talking about. And he did call out today because of it. I was like, okay, wow. So he's not here. I just got you, is what you're telling me. He was like, yeah, man, I don't know what to tell you. And I was like, it's just crazy. It's just crazy to think that someone could just be there, you know? And then be gone. And he was like, well, yeah, man, he's pretty good at his job. And I was like, try the greatest of all time. Guys, that's been it for me. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming out.
Joe Nunnink, everybody! Keep it going for him!